Friendly neighborhood Christian whistleblower. I'm here with R. Wayne Steiger, and this is our new show, Midweek Report. You'll know the truth. The truth will set you free, and we're here to try to bring you into some alignment with truth, or at least make some things available to you that maybe you did not have at your grasp before, and try to give you some information that will help you find your way to freedom and independence. How are you, Wayne?
I'm doing well, my friend. How are you, Jeff?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And I wanted to show you this one thing real quick. It was interesting from what we've been talking about. Let's see if I can find it. Doggone it. Oh, this one's kind of interesting. More faith-based films will feature F-bombs.
Well, there you go.
We're going outside the normal constraints of Christian movie making, says Generational Sins writer-director Spencer Fulmar. New Christian movie out October 6th contains 32 profanities, the highest ever for a faith-based film. We're calling them hard faith films.
Okay.
Can't make this stuff up, Wayne.
I'm sorry. That got me going. Whoa. Okay. We have truly switched reality, folks. I mean, hear me out on this. We're no longer where we used to be. All right.
What do you mean?
Well, listen, I can remember, let's say, back in the 70s, and you would think about traditional gospel films. I mean,
right.
Listen, we were brought up on Cecil B. DeMille and Charleston Heston, you know?
That's right.
That set an image within our consciousness in the West that still today, Jeff, permeates the foundation of what everyone thinks God is.
That's true.
It's a fact. And in fact, you will talk, I don't know about the millennials and on up, but for the most part, the boomers and the Xers and the et ceteras, that is our image of God.
Absolutely it is. 100%. And here's a little bit of good news. Scientific research shows group meditation lowers crime and death in surrounding areas.
Oh, wow. There's breaking news.
Journal of Crime, Psychology, and Law. It's called the Maharishi Effect. 7,000 individuals over the course of 3 weeks meditated deeply in regular intervals. The meditation seemed to have a profound effect on the total crime rates, violence, and casualties. During their meditations, an average of 16% reduction in violence, casualties, and total crime.
Can you imagine, Jeff, if we went into the penal institutions of the United States, which most of them are now privately
held. And he's
held.
Not talking dirty. That just means the jails.
Yeah, which are privately held. But think about this. What if you were actually begin to teach meditation into the prisons? I'll guarantee you, Jeff, within a year's time, you could really start something that it would begin to empty out those jails.
I think you're right. And it said almost 50 studies have done further confirmation on the benefits of global meditation. Research shows an overall violent crime rate dropped by 15% when 4,000 participants participated in group meditation. 255,000 less crimes in this city called Merseyside from 1988 to 1992 if it had continued to follow the national crime trends. So very interesting.
Jeff, I believe we're waking up to this fact that something's not right. We know that instinctively. And I swear, I think it's, this recent controversy about the national anthem, it's a distraction. That's all it is. It's to divide us, Jeff. And I think that they're trying to do it purposely, because once people begin to catch on to what this will do, what meditation, collective meditation will do, that's a powerful force, Jeff.
And I hesitate to say anything about the whole national anthem thing, but all I know is this, that, I lived in Orlando for about 6 years, and I worked for Marriott, and I knew people that worked for Disney and worked for Universal. And if you work for Disney or you work for Universal, you work for Marriott, you are not allowed to do political protests when you're in a Marriott uniform, a Disney uniform, a universal uniform. You're not going to see Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse or Donald Duck taking a knee.
Nope.
And the NFL owners, those players all have contracts, and they could very easily enforce the, morals clause or the whatever clause of the contracts that, have these guys not be able to do that, because it's not, you don't have the right while you're wearing a Denver Broncos uniform or a Tampa Bay Buccaneers uniform or a Dallas Cowboys uniform to protest politically even any more than you have the right to do so when you're wearing a Disney uniform or a Universal Studios uniform. You sign a contract and you enter into a contract with that organization, and you have the right to protest, just not when you're wearing those uniforms. And my question is, what are they protesting anyway, Wayne, at this point?
I don't know. And listen, you have to be a millionaire to be able to do this. I don't get it. And it's a distraction, Jeff. That's what it is. It's to distract the American people once more, to get them off of thinking about the real issues. That we don't have to have hate. We don't have to have divide. Listen, Jeff, I read an article today that said...
It is classic divide and conquer, isn't it?
It is. It is. This article was predicated that the enemy has already won the battle, because Americans are so divided that you couldn't go into a store and say, what kind of ice cream? Because you get into a divide. Is it vanilla or is it chocolate? Well, it might be mint chocolate, might be, and it's crazy. I think that it's at the point now that if we don't wake up, folks, and really start permeating it, Jeff, it's the people listening to us that have the power. You go into social media and you say, enough of this nonsense. Listen, why don't we get together collectively and spend 5 minutes today meditating on harmony and good feelings to my neighbor, as opposed to, I should be kneeling for what?
We probably should start with 60 seconds like you recommended.
People ask me what I've done with that, and I'll tell you what I've done with that. I've put it on the back burners, because the collective consciousness of man is not ready for it.
Unfortunately, it's not. It really isn't. And what was I just thinking about? Doggone it. I had something I wanted to say, and I forgot what it was.
Well, always do the ABCs. But yeah,
I'm just checking through the chat room right now, see if we have any questions pop up there. What were you talking about? You were talking about the NFL, and what did we talk about after that?
Yeah, it's the fact that it's a diversion. That's all it is. Yeah. It's all it is a diversion. It's absolutely meaningless. Are people going to die over this thing? Is this a life and death situation? Is the enemy at the front door attacking the shores? I don't get it. What is going on here? They're playing football. You're paid to play, and you're paid very well to get out there.
The NFL is almost has meaningless as well.
Yeah, and by the way, it's obvious that more and more people are siding with us because their ratings are going in the toilet. People tune in not to see a political statement. They come in to see competition. It's a distraction.
Exactly. And, when you think about Disney, there's a reason why Disney doesn't want protesting and stuff in Disney. No. There's a reason why Universal doesn't want it in Universal, because it is escapism. It's a chance to get out of the real world and get into a nice fantasy world. And that's what the NFL, the NHL, the NBA used to be. But now, for some reason, they feel like they have to carry in their own political statements, and they're taking all of the magic and all of the joy and all the innocence out of everything.
I say let's go back to roller derby.
Now there was entertainment.
That was entertainment. I'll tell you, I can remember as a kid with my mother up in St. Louis actually going to the arena and watching roller derby, and the women, they dominated the sport back then.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can remember as a kid just being in awe of seeing what these women beating the crap out of each other, but having a good time, and everybody else was too.
I remember when it was on television.
It was, wasn't it, there for a while? Yeah. Or let's bring back the days of PBA, bowling. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
we
That's not on
could,
TV anymore, is it?
no, we could actually get Pete Weber up there and, just, because it was the best antidote,
Earl
folks.
Anthony, right?
Exactly. I mean, you talk about just zoning you out. The monotone of bowling is perfect.
That's true. What do you know about this thing I keep seeing every now and then, that we all died in 2012 and we're not really alive anymore?
Yeah, I did a video the day after the election and said that we had switched realities and that we would begin to see the impact of it as it began to go forward. Um, I think that there's good foundation to something's happened. A
Really?
shift. I'm absolutely convinced of it. Absolutely convinced of it. Jeff, I was out in public here recently, and I watch people. I like to see what happens. And as I was saying on my channel today, something's happened. We were watching, and virtually 99.9% of all people were integrated into their cell phones, these things. Every one of them. And the thing that really got me, I saw 3 parents with newborns. I mean, these are children, babes within 6 months. Jeff, every one of the strollers had a pad in it.
No way.
Yes, sir. And I'm going, what's happening to us, Jeff? Have we
Edna
already...
asked what happened to midget wrestling.
I remember it.
Oh my, and dwarf tossing. You can't do that stuff anymore.
I know it, but God, it was fun. I mean, I never thought I'd miss Ric Flair.
Oh, woo!
Woo! Nature boy.
Yep.
I mean, that was entertainment. It was cheap and it was fun,
It really was. And here in Florida, we had the NWA. It was every Sunday from the Curtis Dixon Arena in Tampa, Dusty Roads and all of it.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, people.
And it
really...
was innocent. You knew it wasn't real, but you would get in there and root for the Sheik or root for Ivan Koloff or against Ivan Koloff, the Russian bear. And, you left all your aggression right in there, and then you went out and were excellent to each other.
Well, and it was Shakespeare. It really was. Listen, Vince McMahon, I think, is the guy that used to own the WW.
He still does.
He still does. Okay. I saw one of his interviews that they write this just like a Shakespearean play. You've got the bad guy that represents all the negative elements, and then you have typically the under guy that represents that is the moral virtue.
Interesting.
And
I saw something last night, Wayne, that I never would have watched, but my buddy said something to me about it, and somehow I ended up watching it. And it's this movie called The Hateful Eight, or have you ever heard of it?
Mm-mm.
I think it's called The Hateful Eight. It is Quentin Tarantino's 8th movie, and basically it's a microcosm of what we're talking about. These guys, I guess there's 8 of them. I have to sit down and count to remember, but they're in the middle of this blizzard, and they get holed up in this little, it's the Old West, and this little kind of a tavern, way station, restaurant, whatever, and there's 8 of them, and they've only got the eight of them to survive and to to really make it through by working together, and they end up killing each other, every one of them. Over race, over nationality, over money.
Yeah.
And they end up killing each other, all of them, to the death. It's like Hamlet. At the end, everybody's dead.
There was a movie that, did you go and ever get that movie, The Lathe of Heaven, where the guy is actually altering reality?
I watched about half of it, and I got the idea, but I lost interest in it. But yeah.
It's an interesting concept, and I keep on thinking, Jeff, that somehow or another we're in this loop. I've been thinking, has technology really been the Pandora box that is going to lead us to our destruction?
What was Pandora's box?
Well, Pandora's box was, as you get the true gist of it, is that it was Zeus's gift to Pandora, that, she had everything she needed, but what was inside the box was what her desire was.
Gotcha.
And when the box was open, well, the desire of everything, lust, greed, avarice, all the 7 deadly sins that the church so quickly adapted, and that's so interesting because when you talk about that, when you think about the 7 deadly sins, they have their root in Greek mythology.
Interesting.
And it shows you how all religions are basically kind of amalgamation today. I don't think that there could be ever an original religion invented today because we've got technology. Getting back to my point, has technology so corrupted us at this point that, Jeff, are we in the middle of the train wreck as a species?
That's interesting. I was thinking about the last, well, you could say that Scientology was an invented religion, but it's really more of a self-help thing than it is a religion. But if you're talking about pure religions, the last couple that I can remember being invented would be Mormonism.
Yeah. Yep.
And with technology, there's no way Joseph Smith could have got that off the ground. No way.
Mm-mm.
Could you imagine? Crazy guy puts head into hat, translates book. There's no way that would have flown.
Not going to happen.
And even the Jehovah's Witnesses, I don't know if that would have flown, today like it did in 1875, 76, 77.
When I think about Mormonism and the new birth of the more, I think, postmodern religions, is that they were really on the coattails of the spiritualist movement.
They were.
Yeah. And, that spiritualist movement, most people don't realize, lasted almost about 100 years in the United States and was quashed.
Wayne, this is Tiffany says what you said. Tiffany's in the chat room. She says she's very freaked out because Siri randomly came on and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that." You were talking about that, right? That Siri's always listening.
Yeah. So, I look at all this, and so the spiritualist movement, what did it bring to us? Well, it began to bring to us an awareness that, there was a dogma that was very rigid, very controlled. And I found it interesting that when you think about the Azusa Street revival and the time of Smith Wigglesworth, there you go. Excellent.
Smith Wigglesworth, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah. He was a really interesting dude.
He was.
Yeah. Say what you will about the guy. He plugged into something, which I want to bring up something to you. So yesterday, I've been reading some interesting books. And have you ever thought about frequency? You have a frequency, right? A megahertz. And in that carrier wave, you have a set knowledge that you could plug into if you had the ability, the receptors and your mental cognitive abilities to plug into that frequency and get the information you needed and then move on.
Wayne, what else is that other than like where the Christ said, I'm going away, but I'm going to give you a comforter. And the comforter is going to lead you into all truth. The comforter is going to teach you everything that I've said. And he said, the comforter is also going to bring you everything that the Father knows. And it is tuning into a frequency. And that's what I do every day with these analytical mind analysis and repairs I'm trying to do to get people so they can get into the comforter activation. And they can instinctively, your blink, you'll just know, you'll be in that frequency, you'll have all the information of the comforter and a direct connection to the divine database. I know it sounds woo-woo, but it's true, it's real. And just like you said, that shows me there's even a technological basis for it.
By the way, when you said into all truth,
right?
I think so many people only want to portion out the truth that they want.
Or it's just from the Bible. No.
Yeah, exactly. And, one day people are going to wake up to what the Bible is. Number one, I say it and I'll say it again. The Old Testament was never meant for the Western world.
Absolutely not.
Give it up, folks. You know, it's amazing how many people I hear quote it as though it was their heritage. And I'm going, you don't even know how that was written.
No, and it's not for you.
It's not. And the New Testament, folks, it was never meant to be taken literally. I mean, the Christ is what we all should be achieving for.
Absolutely.
And
oh, and here's one thing I wanted to say, and I forgot about it. Scotty Clark, our buddy, September 23rd guy.
oh yeah.
So I saw that he said, oh, no, we made a mistake. It was September 24th. So then September 24th passed, and now he says, oh, no, I made a mistake. It's September 30th. And it's funny, he's doing exactly what Ellen G. White did. 1844 came and went. William Miller says, look, I messed up. And instead, Ellen G. White, instead of her saying I messed up, she creates this investigative judgment where God is up in heaven going through all the records to make sure these people are saved. And they've been doing that since 1844, and that's the basis of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And the Marzulli is just saying, I didn't say it, as much as I show that he did say it. And Scotty's like, just keeps changing the date.
Yeah, you know, the problem with the internet, man, you once you say it, it's now engraved into the electronic stone. You know,
It is.
And there's no erasing it, folks. So
how long will his subscriber base last if he keeps changing dates?
You know,
what do you think?
They so desperately want to believe in death. And that's what it is, folks. If your whole consciousness is wrapped around Armageddon, the bottom line is you have a death wish, and I don't care to be a part of it. And I think the rest.
Scotty here. It is the 25th of September, 2017.
Sorry about that. He's still got 94,000 subscribers. I don't know if that's up or down. I think that might be a little down.
Yeah.
But still.
They want it. They want it so bad. And, you know, I can remember when I wasn't actively practicing Christian. And, you know, when you would really pack out the sanctuary is when you got into Revelation.
That's true. And I have to admit, Wayne, I got a little bit of envy because I got 850 videos and like 7,500 subscribers. Scott Clark's got 250 videos and 96,000 subscribers. He must be a whole lot better at this than I am.
Well, you're just not selling the candy he is.
Oh, man.
But I think these people are beginning to turn around. I read an article from Barna, the Parna group today, because I still follow what the church is doing. Number one, we are witnessing the largest mass exodus of the modern church in modern times.
Woohoo!
Last year, it was estimated approximately 14 million people left the Christian church, quote unquote.
Woohoo!
The other big thing that's starting now is, get this, I found this really interesting, is now they're going back to small groups, and you know what they're looking for? They're looking for the alternate story.
What do you mean?
Well, apparently, according to Barna, that people are now venturing outside of the normal Bible studies that has been so prominent in the last 30 years.
Well, that's good news for us, right?
I think it is. I think that it tells me that it's just like these incidents. September 23rd. They actually were talking about it in one of the churches here. I found out about 2 weeks ago that I never thought that they'd have brought up anything like that.
Can you believe that? So this might be the time to really get this idea of the NCK centers out there.
I think so. I think that people are looking for, listen, I've said this all along, Jeff. What drives people primarily to churches is that they're looking for the supernatural.
Yeah.
And they're not finding it.
They're not.
No. You know, it's just like the gifts of the Spirit. You know, that the most controversial, misunderstood aspects of the Pauline mind coitus. And that's what it is, because you come in here and when you start really giving in, I grew up underneath Kenneth Hagin. So, you know, in that particular genre of the faith movement, the gifts of the Spirit were mandatory.
Absolutely. You had to move it all 9, sometimes 10.
Yes, you did. And, you know, if you couldn't speak in tongues, well, then there's something wrong with you.
They basically taught that you weren't saved. They didn't teach it, but they really did.
basically
It was like Ellie Marzulli. I'm not saying that you have to
No,
speak in tongues to get to heaven, but all signs
but
indicate that you have to.
now what were you saying, son? Can you say it again?
Exactly.
And you know, I've been at the healing
Now
rallies.
you look a little bit like like Kenneth Hagin, somewhat.
Yeah. Ora basali dignicho
Yeah, there
boroka
you go.
sakarete, you know, it's there. It's, you know, it doesn't leave you. And
It doesn't leave you.
one guy said, because he knows, he says, well, you've disavowed Christianity. I said, yeah, I have. He says, well, you can't be praying in tongues. I said, why not?
Watch me.
He said,
And somebody said something in one of my videos today, Wayne, that just hit me like a ton of bricks, the proverbial ton of bricks. We were talking about why there's this whole group that wants us to believe that aliens can rape us anytime they want to. And there's a whole movement that's trying to teach us that.
yeah,
And you look at the Bible story of Mary getting impregnated by I mean, it's an artificial insemination by an alien. And somebody pointed out, so what you're telling me is that the being that started the Catholic Church started out by raping a 12, 13, 14-year-old girl.
yeah.
So they started out in pedophilia, and it's been the same way ever since.
And you know, here's where the mind coitus comes in. So how do you rationalize a 12-year-old being able to make a decision as an adult woman?
But she didn't get to make the decision.
No.
He just raped her.
It's like, sorry, babe, you're the it. And yeah, it's so twisted, but
Yeah.
we accept this as normal. Like, this is the miraculous conception. Now, I did a video earlier this week that showed that story, and you and I talked about it on Sunday, is that the virgin birth story goes back 2,500 years before.
Oh, yeah.
It's nothing new.
And that's being conservative.
I think it is being conservative. You know, the way I look at it, it was the template.
It was the template.
You know?
Now, was the Apostle Paul possessed by Yahweh, or was he just in league with them?
Ooh, that's a good question. You know, I believe that Paul was a mystic. I don't
do
know.
you?
Oh, yes, sir, I do. As I've been studying some of these they're pretty rare books and learning about the initiates, I think Paul had we have a story about him when he was being followed by Lazarus.
Simon?
Simon, yes. And it was really interesting if you read that story about what's going on in here. Simon apparently had a familiar spirit, right? And,
Well, they say he did.
yeah. And it's interesting about Paul is that Paul seemed to have a lot of familiar spirits. Remember the young girl, he cast the one spirit out, the familiar spirit?
Oh, yeah.
And I thought that was always odd, because what is a familiar spirit? Well, a familiar spirit is who can tell your fortune, because they know your past. They don't die. They know everything about you. So it's easy for them to make conjecture. I believe that they can see into the timeline. And I think that this was Paul's greatest threat of being found out who he was. Now,
Oh, that's very interesting.
you know, the Spirit says, as it is written, said that Paul served the Most High. But I'm still going back into the 14th part of Acts, I believe, where Paul's going into Ephesus and he makes the announcement that he serves the God that has no name.
Right. And Ephesus later put him on trial and found him to be a false apostle.
Yes,
But that's interesting. Maybe that's one of the reasons why Christianity is so against familiar spirits, because they don't want the familiar spirits telling the people, hey, look, you're being sold a pig in a poke.
Yeah. You know, you have to look at this thing in a rational mind. If you're telling me I can't go there, I want to know why. What's the problem? Well, now, if you're saying, well, Wayne, that's a radiation dump, you know, and although you can't see it, it'll kill you. All right, I'm going to kind of think, all right, well, maybe you know what you're talking about, and I'm going to believe you until I find something that counters that.
Right.
In a way, we've been told the same thing. We've been told that there was a devil, there was a Satan, there's all these demons, and, you know, no one can tell me where the demons came from. There's a lot of speculation, but no one has shown me the actual book that says this is where they came from. They'll give you the book of Enoch. They'll try to go into Genesis 6:4. And again, all speculation. And so then you have to say, well, then if they exist, why don't you want me to know about it? If I have an enemy, isn't that what the military, that's what they taught me in ROTC, that to know my enemy is to know what I'm going up against.
Right.
Just
I mean,
a thought.
even back to the NFL, they scout the team they're going to play. They watch tons and tons of video on them. They study their enemy.
Yes, they do. But
George Washington and a lot of other people said, know your enemy, and he even said, keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. You should know more about your enemies than you do about your friends.
yeah.
Arguably, we should know more about the quote-unquote demonic realm than we did about the apostles.
And can anyone truly tell me what the demonic realm is? I mean, I've studied a lot of black magic books, and Jeff, most of the time I leave there thinking, well, whoever wrote that, that's conjecture. There's no predication on what they're saying.
Well, Wayne, from my Christian training, I can tell you, all you need to know about the demonic realm is you don't need to know about it. Just shut up and pay your time.
It. And then you want to throw me in, Ephesians 6:12. And I'm going, all right, principalities, dominion. And, I got so into it where I went and studied those words out in the Greek. I wanted to get it all the way down. And I'm going, what? How did he know this? And don't just tell me, it's like giving me the end with the byline. I want to know the story. What is this kingdom? What is this rank? How did that happen? How did they establish it? I did a thing, Jeff, on Monday on Satan in itself. And I said, the church gave him a raise. They elevated this creature. I mean, apparently, yeah, he was an angel. I don't know if he was a seraphim. He was not of the archangel class, which I find very interesting. So, you read in the Old Testament, yeah, he makes a couple appearances. I never saw him attack Israel, as we talked last week, and so I went into it further. And everything is, they empowered this thing.
Yeah.
And they did it by directing our faith towards it.
Yeah. Now, what about, we just finished talking about the concept of knowing your enemy and focusing on what's against you. And what about the whole New Age adage of don't focus on anything that's low frequency? How do you balance those two out?
Well, I think I'll just quote Winston Churchill. If you're going through hell, don't stop. In other words, to say that you have to ignore it, I think, is to your own peril.
Yeah.
Because listen, yeah, it's a low frequency, but you know what carries that low frequency? It could have impact on you down the road. And so I think you have to be aware. You don't need to park your bus in it. You just need to be aware that it's there.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I mean,
Ryan talks about says, I love it when Jeff is interviewed on someone's show and blows their mind, dropping nukes left and right. That happens from time to time.
It does. So I want to bring up this topic.
Please do.
It came in a discussion. And so we have such detailed records of the Christ. We get one glimpse at his birth. Then we get a glimpse at apparently at the age of 12, and then he disappears, and then he comes back on the scene somewhere in his 30s. The question I have is, what happened to the Christ child? I mean, surely someone had to write something. These people were not illiterate, ladies and gentlemen. They were educated. King Herod had the most educated, I don't know what you want to call it, subjects of the whole Eastern realm of the Roman Empire.
It's almost as if he'd never really existed, Wayne.
No. It's
the Apostle John says that the Christ came as a fully grown man, walking, talking, entering into discourse with us. And if you read on into the book of Romans, Paul said, it was I who first preached the gospel of the birth, death, and resurrection of the Christ. So to me, if you stick straight to the scripture, straight to the text, it's very plain. Jerusalem, the Bethlehem story never happened. It was just plagiarized from previous stories in religions. And when they decided this Christ guy was going to be a problem, they just created this straw man called Jesus. And Paul sold him and sold him hard, and we all bought him.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I often said that if John the Baptist was related to Jesus, then why didn't he recognize him?
That's a good point, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, come on, folks. Judea isn't like, the state of Texas.
No, it's not.
It's about the size of between Dallas and Houston. So
yeah, at the most, and there weren't people in all that space either.
No, and I mean, if in fact the Magi had visited him, let me tell you, folks, how many people in your own circle gossip? Particularly,
and what were the Magi, Wayne, by the way?
Well, there's another one. You know what? Would you believe it or not? They were magicians.
Magi, magician, absolutely.
Holy crap. In fact.
And astrologers to boot.
Yes, and nothing more important than that, but frankincense and myrrh was a prime ingredient in alchemy.
Yep.
So, everyone would have known about this. Oh, that's the Jesus kid. Yeah, the magicians came and visited. They left him gold, man.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, you're saying that story wouldn't have spread around? I mean,
yeah, it's just ridiculous. And then Chris asked, so what are they worshiping in church? That's a scary thought.
That's a really scary thought. Listen, it says that nature hoards a vacuum. Well, you're going to give a deity a name and start worshiping it. Boom, baby. I mean, There's power there.
Absolutely.
You got 1 billion people praying to you? That's 20 watts of power per person. That's 20 billion watts of energy, folks, all the time hitting.
Now, there's someone in the chat room that says they wear frankincense and myrrh essential oils. Would you say that's a good thing?
Smart. Real smart.
Why is it smart, Wayne?
Well, listen, if you go with the foundation and the predication that we are not alone, in other words, humans are not alone, there are unseen. I am convinced that these smells, these oils, they're magical.
They are.
They're magical, and they will bring protection. Let me tell you, Jeff, when I was a devoted Christian, I actually had the Torah in the little holder.
Tom wears it too.
Yeah, and I it's still on my doorstep. It's still there. Now, do I believe in that? Yeah, I do. I happen to believe that there are boundaries. And,
Tom who says gens are sister from another mister.
I love it. But getting back to the essential oils, absolutely. And they're great healing therapy as well. If you mix certain oils with frequencies, I mean, I keep telling people, Jeff, this is an electrical unit. Listen, if you got an organ that is not quite right, well, maybe it might need a little tune-up.
Yeah.
That's what
It's so interesting, Wayne. I deal with people with spiritual cleansing and stuff. In fact, I was just dealing with a person today, and they say, what can I do? I mean, you can't, if they want to fly me out there and do it, I'll do it. I just do it for cost. But, well, if they can't, then I have to tell them how to do it. And I tell them things that they don't want to believe, but when they do them, it's amazing. I tell them, get as much and wear as much silver as you can. Put as much silver around you as you can. If you can afford it, get colloidal silver.
Yeah.
Bring in garlic. Bring in onions. Bring in roses. Bring in high-frequency music, like classical music. And they think this is so crazy, but then, and I bring in frankincense, bring in myrrh. If you can, get yourself a diffuser and get some rose essence to diffuse.
Yes. And
they think, oh, this is crazy. And then all of a sudden I get a call back a couple weeks later. It worked. They're all gone.
Wow. It works, folks.
I've been doing this for 36 years.
The man knows what he'd be talking about.
I don't know. Well, why does it work? I don't know why, and I don't care why. All I know is it works.
I don't know if we ever will know. I mean.
And do you remember Cora, the old lady from the Good to the Last Drop commercials?
Yeah. Yeah.
She used to say, when something works, you stick with it.
Don't question it. What do we used to say? Don't kick a gift horse in the mouth.
Yeah, don't look a gift horse in the mouth.
Exactly. If you kick it, it might kick back.
Exactly. And you know what that statement means? Don't look a gift horse in the mouth?
No.
Because if you look at a horse in his mouth and look at his teeth, you can tell how old he is and what kind of health he's in. But they're like,
Oh.
they're giving you the horse. Don't examine the horse. Just thank you and take a free horse.
Man, go with it. And isn't it odd how it's so much human nature that when you try to give someone something good, they're looking at you like, I don't know. What are you selling me?
Yeah, exactly. What's wrong? And why are you giving me something? And we're taught there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Exactly.
You can't do something for nothing. Wow. We're a bunch of pessimistic, cynical people.
Well, no, it's just that
made that way.
It's the environment that we're in. I mean, listen, I really do believe that we have switched realities. I don't know.
What do you mean when you say we've switched realities?
There was a frequency of the consciousness of our species. I mean, you think about it, and I look at this, you look at the shocks and the jolts that we took in the early 20th century. We had a worldwide depression, had 2 major wars. We culled the planet of the population. And we went into this period of where the vibration, the frequency was pretty much maintained. And we saw this in the prospering of the globe. Today, the population is a result of the prosperity of the last 100 years.
No doubt about it.
So you can only maintain that if there is a harmonic that is balanced. Something happened as we got closer, and seriously, when we came out of into the 21st century, the frequencies began to etch up. And I think today I don't know if we're at the apex, but I do believe in my heart something has changed. And I've talked to other people, they have the same feeling. They sense something has changed, and I think we're seeing more and more of that.
What do you think about using sage in your homes?
Yes. It's good cleansing.
Except don't be like Jen Fisher. She said she almost burned her house down with sage. You're supposed to walk around with it and let it smoke. How in the world can you start a fire with sage?
When we moved into our house here, we cleaned it. And I walked the perimeter. I claimed it.
Wayne, that's so good. I just was talking to a lady today again with what she thinks are demon issues. And I told her, walk the perimeter of your house, walk the perimeter of your, and this is, I want some feedback from you on this because I've been dealing a lot with elementals, and this lady lives in the middle of a place that used to be very intensely, it was Native American, lots of Indians. There's lots of burial ground there, and she's having lots and lots of troubles. And what I said to her was, what you should do is walk your property line, and it's usually I would say take authority, rebuke, cast out. What I said to her was, walk your property line and say, listen, I understand that this was your land. I understand this used to be your land. I respect that. But this part of it is now my land. I have the deed. And I'm asking you not to come in here and attack me anymore. I'm asking you not to come in here and be malevolent towards me anymore. Stay in the water, stay in the forest, but don't come into my area. I'm respecting your area. You respect my area. How does that strike you?
Spot on, spot on. Listen, you have to establish who your presence. I use my name. When I sense that there is a spirit, I'll tell him I banish you in the name of Robert Wayne Steiger.
Yes.
I am a sovereign being.
Yes, that's
I have
great.
the spark of divinity. Those spirits will bow down to me and they will serve me if that's what I'm going to make them do.
That's great.
Now, you have to have a certain level, Jeff, of knowing who you are to do that.
Yep.
And they'll push back. But boy, that's spot on.
And something else interesting, I have a friend that lives out in, I always get it mixed up. I think it's not Wyoming, it's Montana.
Okay, yeah, they're right.
And he was having some trouble with grizzly bears. And I mean, they were shooting them, they were fighting them, and it was just a battle. So what he did now, about every month he goes out and he puts a nice offering, meat, out for the grizzly bears. And, it's cost him, $200-300 to do it. But guess what? He doesn't have any trouble with grizzly bears anymore.
One day we're going to wake up that there are kingdoms.
Yeah.
There's an animal kingdom. And it's just like how humans treat animals, dogs or whatever, by what they are. This guy, he's right on. I mean, you need to make peace. That is their dominion.
Yeah.
It really is. And, I love that. That's an ascended being.
He's a pretty smart guy. And it's just the lessons that we can learn. Like, I mean, silly stuff like my cat. I don't really think anymore of, I own that cat. I think that cat's my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know it seems silly and foo-foo, but it seems to work with me.
I mean, my dog Dancer, that dog and my wife sees it. There is a mental telepathy.
Yeah.
And it happens. And, I have become more.
Is that the little one that you had with you?
Yeah. Yeah. And that dog can read my emotions. I mean, it's uncanny to see how that dog can read my emotions. She knows when I'm feeling down. She'll come up and comfort me. That is a conscious, sentient being. I don't care if it's in the form of an animal. It's if an animal can respond to emotions the same way that plants do, Jeff.
Yep. She's a female dog, Dancer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And it's amazing. My wife just marvels. She said, you and that dog are talking all the time.
That's weird.
And, but it's the same thing with the environment of the spirits around us. All of us are going to pass through, and we're really going to know once you make that transition. So those answers will be, I think we're going to find out. I really do. Yeah. I mean, do you believe that when a person leaves that they can come and visit their loved ones before they actually make that full ascension?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's obvious they can. I would hope that they don't spend too much time hanging around here and that they go on to their next port of call. But yeah, they can obviously hang around and can visit.
And I think that just brings up why I don't believe in ghost stories so much. Because
Jen said that her cat started crying today when she was singing to it.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if Jen's a really bad singer or if she was touching the cat. I'm not real sure.
My wife says that Dancer had to have lived an ideal life of St. Teresa because she is spoiled rotten now.
Isn't that funny?
That, in my board back here, I've been working on what has held us back from ascending. And I don't know if you can actually see it.
That says no single reality. I see that.
Yeah, there is no single. And you can see that I'm working out on a math formula that why haven't we ascended above level 1? Why is that, folks? We should be at level 3 by now. What do you think, Jeff? Why is it? What has held us back in the area of ascending? I mean, even in a modicum of advancement of consciousness, I don't know.
Well, I think some of us have, but you mean why haven't we as a species?
Yeah, as a species, collectively.
Because I think Christianity's been holding us back.
That's what I think. I really do.
I don't think there's any doubt about it.
Yeah. So how's the chat rooms going in there?
The chat room is banging. I've been trying to keep an eye on it, and a lot of the questions I've asked you have come out of the chat room. I have a chart very similar to what you have on that board back there that I went through with a shaman named Dr. Andy Toltek, who is a shaman, a PhD psychologist, psychiatrist, and a indigenous shaman. So a rather interesting individual, but he's dropped off the face of the planet. I'm not sure where he went. I'm hoping I wasn't just communicating with him in the astral realm, but that's becoming a bit of a possibility. Although I was on the radio with him a lot, he just seems to have vanished off the face of the planet. So was Dr. Andy Toltek actually an astral being, or I don't know. It's very odd, but we had something. It was the other way. It showed layers going up instead of
I'm just spacing them out
horizontally like you had them.
Yeah, and it's amazing, isn't it, how you plug into that thought? I mean, a thought just came into my head, and I just started writing this out. Something is.
It's like the Carlos Castaneda books, or Castaneda. I'm not sure how you say his name.
Yes.
A lot of people say, oh, that was fake. He just made it all up. I don't think it was fake, but I think there's a very distinct possibility that Don Juan de Maltus, I believe his name was, the guy that was teaching Castaneda, was an astral being, and Castaneda might not even have known it.
You know, isn't it amazing that people question?
Oh, Wayne, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear.
Yes.
Will they literally appear out of the astral realm?
Yes. You know, Jeff, listen, and this is how distorted we get. We'll accept that where Paul says that
Can you imagine if somebody just pops into this chat room and listens and they're like, the hell is wrong with these people?
What are they talking about? But here's the thing. Paul said that some of us have entertained angels unaware.
Oh, and I have. There's no doubt about it.
Okay. I happen to believe that as well. So why do we find it so odd that if a person is in a particular sacred knowledge, that another being is not going to come into the point? I happen to believe that that happens.
Absolutely. And it's funny, you know, speaking of that, someone coming in, we had somebody come in on one of the last shows that I saw the statement in the chat room, this is unbiblical. And I'm like, how long could they have been watching this before they found something that was unbiblical? I mean, if they've been here more than 10 minutes, they've heard at least 2 or 3 things that are unbiblical.
Some guy wrote me, and it was a compliment. He said, I pity the poor fool who thinks he can debate the Bible with you.
Yeah, exactly.
I said, well, it's not that so much it's a debate. It's just actually a recognition of what truth is. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the study of alchemy. Jeff, I think that that has been an element that needs to be brought back into the collective consciousness of our species.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
and there's a reason why that is much.
Why do you think that is? Why? I'd love to hear that, because they have put so much effort, energy, money, time, lives, killing people, burning things to keep that out. Why?
Tamu, do you really believe that you've had teachers appear from the astral to you? Because she was echoing that. Well, I mean, because it's tremendously powerful and liberating and empowering to the individual. And you can't have that if you're trying to create a fear and guilt slave matrix.
No. And I can tell you it's real, but if your mind is not open to it, it's never going to bother you.
Well, it's like the great American philosopher Method Man once said. He said, free your mind and your ass will follow.
Oh, now that is funny. You know, when you were talking about that, it was Steve Martin, the LA Story.
I didn't see that.
Oh, you've got to see. That is one funny movie.
I think that was back when movies were a sin.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, that's true. Isn't it amazing how we get all these things that, well, you can't do that, you can't do this. And eventually what happens is that box gets like this, and it gets like that. And pretty soon you're squeezed to nothing.
Yeah. I remember preaching somewhere one time when, I can't remember where it was, I made the statement of, now this is back when bowling was a sin, and somewhere from the congregation, it still is.
Oh, I remember our next door neighbors down in Texas. This is back in the 60s. They were Pentecostal.
Yeah.
And the girls all wore the long hair. They didn't believe in cutting their hair, no jewelry, no makeup. They didn't even shave. And, you know.
Wow.
But they took it literally.
Tamu says she has had teachers come from the astral plane.
Yeah.
I agree. I believe it 100%. I think, unless, hopefully he'll contact me and prove me wrong, but Dr. Andy Toltec just disappeared when it seemed like he taught me all he could, and he was gone. I mean, gone.
I've read numerous stories. Listen, I've been visited. When you get moments of inspiration that you do not have any connection to the thought, do you think that's just random?
No, not at all.
I don't think so at all. Listen, I think that the spirit of Socrates still exists today. Plato.
Socrates?
Yeah, Socrates. Don't you know? And, you know, just because Bill and Ted, you know, took him back to Sam Dima.
Yeah.
But no, I really do believe that. Listen, people believe so much in the Bible of the words that they're reading of Jesus. it's the same thing, folks.
Absolutely.
It's no different.
I think most of the great teachers do move on to a higher realm of living, but for some reason it seems like some of them do hang around to help out.
Well, if you believe in the concept of time, that time needs an observer in order to be relevant, that means each one of us leave an impression of.
Oh, so you're saying it's maybe energetic residue that we're experiencing?
Yep. Yeah.
You know, I was in Germany, and I wish I had known then what I know now. I was in Germany, and there's Assemblies of God servicemen's retreat we'd go to every year. I was there 3 years. It was down in Berchtesgaden, Germany. If that sounds familiar, that was Adolf Hitler's Camp David.
Wow. Okay.
His retreat down there, and we actually held the meetings and lived in the very hotel or Berghof that you would see Hitler in, and all of those pictures down there in Berchtesgaden. So we were down there, and I would be walking the halls, and I would see SS officers dressed in their black uniforms sitting there. We would see hooded figures up on the platform when we were picking up the Bibles and, policing up all the hymnals and stuff. So we were actually seeing, I always wondered, was I seeing energetic residue, or was it a ripple between time or frequency?
I think you're seeing the residue. It's less like this. I defy anyone.
Wayne, we also saw this, and it took me a while to figure this out, but we were down in underneath there was like tunnels of where, Hitler would go for the bomb shelter and stuff. And we would be down there and we would hear, this whistling, and it would be, now I forgot the freaking dog's name.
The German Shepherd.
The German Shepherd. And we would hear the whistling, and he was called,
it started with an H, I think.
No, it was, but anyway, we would hear Hitler. I heard the dog's name, and I asked, and one of the guys that was there, like third year, says, "You've seen our friends, haven't you?" And I said, "Yes." And I asked him, "Who is this?" And the dog's name. It'll come to me in a minute. And he says, "Go to the library and do a little bit of reading." And it was Hitler's dog's name. So we were actually hearing Hitler call his dog, and I wasn't the only one that heard it.
Blondie. Thank you. Absolutely. I experienced the same thing at Gettysburg. You go out there. You go out in that battlefield.
That just gave me chills.
Those spirits are still there. There's some that are trapped. They can't. The trauma was so bad, so terrible. And it's interesting we're talking about this.
So do you think I was hearing? You think that was energetic residue? You don't think Hitler's still in that bunker at that Berghof?
Yeah, I think it's just like a photon leaves a signal, and so it's the same thing.
There were three of us that heard it distinctly. Blondie, we're like, but we were stupid Pentecostals. We didn't know what that was. All we could think of was demons. But I wish if I'd have just known.
Yeah, could you imagine?
This was in 1986 or 7. I could have been the first ghost hunter.
Yeah.
I'm famous by now.
and Hitler, no less.
And Hitler, no less.
I mean, come on now. That,
I know we could have recorded it. If all three of us heard it, it had to be on an audible frequency.
Yeah, I've read a number of books, a great one on biocentrism, and that the residual, depending on where the energy is, and I think with an individual like Hitler, that was intense energy. That dude, what I have found out was that he found it. He found a piece of sacred knowledge that connected. And
do you think the fact that it was down there within such thick concrete walls and thick, metal protection, do you think that kind of keeps the energy within, possibly?
I think it absolutely makes sense. I mean, they're trying to capture neutrinos. You know how they trying to capture neutrinos? They're about 3 miles below the ocean.
So it was possible that some of that energetic frequency was.
I think that's, and we're not trained in this. How do you know now that you know this? Could you imagine going back?
Yeah. And Wayne, I was so scared when I heard it. I had on my gold wedding ring, right? And I wore it all the time to work and everything. So something happened to me. I was standing there and the wedding ring fell off my finger and it fell down, and the floor was all grates. It hit one of the cross members of the grates and bounced back up, and I caught it. But what makes a wedding ring that you wear forever suddenly fall off your finger? I guess I was so scared my finger shrunk.
Well, I mean, you're involved in a lot of energy, dude. I mean, that's an intense environment. It really is. I think that you could probably go to Waco. I was just thinking, about David Koresh, and I bet you could probably feel the residual energy is there as well.
I told you I got invited to preach there, right?
I was telling someone about that, and they went,
"Oh, how horrible!"
They went, "Did he go?" And I said, "No, he's still alive."
No, I didn't go. This was like probably 6 months before, because I had a you'll laugh at this. I was in Eastern Oregon, and I had a radio show that was on the largest radio station in Eastern Oregon, and that meant probably 15, 20 people could hear it. And it was called the 11th Hour Messenger.
Oh, that's a good one.
And Koresh somehow heard that. And because it was about, my whole thing was the rest of the full gospel, how the Pentecostals had rejected the Sabbath.
Oh, okay.
And the Sabbath was rest. So the rest of the full gospel, you can see why Koresh was.
I see exactly.
That. And I get this letter. I wish I'd have kept that letter. It was a handwritten letter from David Koresh.
Wow.
Saying, come preach at, they called it, I forget what they called it. It had kind of a weird name. It wasn't Mount Zion, but it was something like that.
It was something like that, yeah.
What was the name of David's compound? New Jerusalem? What was it called? What was the name of David Koresh's compound? What was the name of David Koresh compound? Mount Carmel Center.
Mount Carmel. There you go.
That was it.
I still remember the tank, going into the building. And I'm sitting there. I was actually in Las Vegas when that was going down. And I'm going, this is a church. What's going on? Yeah. And, maybe the fact that this is all accumulated that to where we are today, as we look back, we're going to go, well, there's any wonder that we're not here. We're finding out things. I mean, the residual energy is something that I think needs to be explored more and more. It may be allowing us to have those voices from the past kind of give us a little guidance.
That's in Waco, right, Wayne?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah.
Has anyone ever done that? Gone out there and looked for residual stuff?
Not that I know of.
I know I've seen Bill Hicks and Alex Jones out there.
Doesn't surprise me, but I'd approach this from a different point of trying to record an EMP, an electromagnetic voice. I think it would probably be more interesting to build, and you probably could do this, that could pick up the residual energy, as opposed to trying to trick it, trying to interact with it.
You mean like some type of a device that would register?
Yeah, you could actually see, and I think we're close to that.
Remind me to ask you something off the air that I need help with, that I think you may be the guy that I've been looking for.
Okay.
That's to do with that. So yeah, very, very interesting.
Well, I had another thing. I know
we're over an hour, but please bring it up.
So I just thought I'm going to leave everyone as we leave with some great pictures of alchemy.
Alchemy.
Yeah, let me go here to the beginning so everyone.
Alchemy. I've come to think that alchemy is just the art of manipulating the ether.
I think that is absolutely correct. In fact, I'm reading. It's amazing. You just took almost word for word what they said. They said what we have learned to do in the 21st century, and we're not even aware of it, is that we are now touching the ether.
We are.
And I look
at said that we ever see Alex Jones and Bill Hicks in the same place. Probably the silliest conspiracy on the internet, that Bill Hicks and Alex Jones are the same person.
Could you imagine?
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
But look at all this symbolism.
Oh, that's German.
Yeah. This is the Tree of Life.
With what are those dragons shooting at the Tree of Life?
Yeah. It's you can see God himself is blowing it away. It's not exactly what you were thinking that it was going to be.
Wow. So they're against the tree of life.
Yeah. And you can see my family name up here.
Where?
Steiger.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Here's one. Look how the dragon is actually
That's
the sun god. Yeah, this is Baal.
Oh, my. Look at that.
So this is, I think, Jupiter,
Yeah.
Mercury. This is a werewolf.
A werewolf, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Who was it, Nebuchadnezzar, that turned into a werewolf?
Yes, 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 yes. People don't remember.
There's the show right there.
You know, look at the owl. We're going to see a lot more.
Is there an owl man, or is
There
that
he
like what's that guy called, Mothman, right?
Yeah, well, there he is right there.
Is that what Mothman is? Kind of an owl?
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, you know, if you read the ancients, there was a time, and I still believe that these creatures of half humans, half animals still exist.
And check out the cherubim there with the mermaid tail.
Yeah. It's so, when you get into these, this is, look at this. I think
Pumpkins hanging from a tree.
yeah. This is Lucifer.
Lucifer. Almost Blake-esque. It reminds you of
Yeah.
the great red dragon and a woman clothed with the sun.
Yeah. More
Another
alchemy.
owl.
Always the owl. And look
So
at,
are owls bad or good, Wayne?
boy, you know, you know, a lot of people say that the owl represents Moloch. I don't agree with that. I cannot find that, because look at what the owl is sitting on.
Am I the only one that thinks owls and cats kind of look alike?
I think they have the same virtue, but look at, he's got the snake in his hand, in his talons.
He does. And he's sitting over a towel or a cross.
Yeah. I think that's the Roman cross, isn't it not?
And they're the crows,
Are trying to attack him.
the dead, you know, the fallen spirits. You know, this reminds me of, I always talk about the crows sitting on the line, caw, 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 while the eagles soar. It's not just eagles that soar. Apparently owls soar as well.
Yes, they do. These are the alchemists of the, I call them the last true alchemists, because I can't find modern day alchemists.
Go back to that picture, Wayne. So these guys are standing there watching this guy work in the furnace.
Yeah.
And, you know, even when you do talk about alchemy, they've got it reduced to the whole, if you say alchemy to most people, they have no idea what you're talking about. But even the people that do know what you're talking about are still thinking lead into gold. So there's like 3 layers of deception.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, true alchemy is about the ascension, the transformation of the soul.
Absolutely. Owls see in the dark, Mari Pia says.
Ooh, really good on that one.
Very good.
I found this one very interesting.
Lilith is associated with owls. Yeah, that's and that's called death. So I guess death is a big orgy, it looks like.
Yeah. Well, the story behind on this one, this guy is dying, and he's being pulled from what he's realizing out of the physical. And well, I think the picture kind of goes with it, but it's rich in deep meaning. How about this one?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Yeah. I found this one really interesting. Here is the crown, and here's below the moon, the sun.
And that's very typical iconography, the moon and the sun.
Yeah.
Like there's some of those pictures where people say, oh, there's UFOs in the sky. Clearly, no, it's the moon and the sun.
How about this one? This is a man creating out of the ether.
He is. He's got his wand.
Yes. And
he's got 2 wands.
If you remember the movie Doctor Strange.
That was a great movie.
Okay, now you know where they got it from.
He's working with 2 wands, Wayne.
Yes, look at this. And he's opened up a portal.
Now, the one thing that I saw in that movie that I researched and it doesn't really exist are those sling rings, whatever they called them.
I'd love to have one.
I know. I can't find them anywhere. I think that's a fictional. It's probably just a their idea of a wand, huh?
I think it is.
But it's still what a cool idea.
It's very cool. And this
If we
one,
make those and sell them, we'd get rich.
look at all this. I mean, as I
Wow.
study this, I mean,
She's holding an anchor and a harpoon?
yes, yes. And it's chained. It looks like it's chained here. And then she has the,
Well, there's a chain on the end of the harpoon because if you stick the whale, you got to reel him in.
I guess you have to.
So what is she harpooning? What whale is she after?
I have no idea. I don't know if she's casting something down here.
But it looks like water coming out.
Yeah.
Boy, that's interesting.
How about this one?
She had her hands full. Oh, that's good.
All right.
Nappy Yogi is responsible. Owls have 100% accuracy with their prey, I've heard.
Ooh.
Says Bree Crew. Wow.
The tree of knowledge. Each one holding a crown.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. 7, 8. Wow. I mean, yeah, that's interesting. And it's, I find it interesting that there's men and women on that tree.
Yes, there is. Just some deep, deep stuff.
Where did you get these from?
I went in and just began to collect them as I came across. Anyone, can now go in, just tap into Alchemy. Yeah. And you can begin to.
They're playing. What does that say on the top? They're playing with
fire. No, nature.
Playing with something. And boy, I used to be able to read this, but interesting. Wow.
I mean,
now, what is she like? Is that like Mother Earth?
I think this is what I got from this. I mean, you got the animal kingdom, but look at the.
That's Gaia.
You got these small people down here that are, it's
from a goat, which could be, and then what is this? This looks like a dog, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a wolf.
It's a wolf.
So people are suckling at the wolf
and the
goat, both of which in scriptural terms.
And at the breast. And at the breast.
Yeah, but that's the breast of Mother Earth, so that's got to be okay, right?
I would think, yes.
But these down here with the wolf and the goat, they're missing the boat.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it's symbolic of where we establish ourselves in the Ascension. I don't know.
You know what? Just when you need when you need a scholar.
Yeah.
Here's Scotty Roberts says that's Romulus and Remus suckling at the wolf.
Ah, excellent. You see, again, using that of the past into the present.
Well done, Scotty Roberts.
Thank you, Scotty. You smart guy, you.
Scotty, we can't. YouTube is getting tough on cussing, so I was going to say Scotty's famous line, but I can't.
Oh, I see. But they can put it in Christian faith-based film.
Exactly. The more stuff Scotty Roberts learns, the more he realizes he doesn't know stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the true point of where you get into wisdom. Again, this one's really powerful. Commanding.
So that's again the sun and the moon.
Yeah, commanding the elements, folks.
Commanding the elements.
So we can do this. Jeff, this is what I am convinced of. We can do this.
The supernatural used to be natural to us.
Yeah. Now this is Moloch.
Moloch. And just so people know, this isn't a representative of a living being. This is a statue, a brazen statue that they would stoke with fire and put the babies on it to sacrifice.
You know, one of the great mysteries I've never figured out, Jeff, is where did they learn about this deity at? It had to be Egypt. I mean,
if you look at the Cain and Abel story, it's really the Lord accepting human sacrifice. So maybe the Lord taught him.
Ah, true. I think, it was obviously, and this is Moses.
Well, the Lord raped a 12, 13, 14-year-old girl, supposedly, to impregnate her with his baby Jebus.
Well, listen, when people really begin to study the tribes, holy crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it freaks me out. I mean, what they were doing. I mean, listen, that's knowledge. Again, this is Moses.
Who knew Moses was so yoked?
Well, I got to tell you, he was the master magician. He was a master. And here he is mastering the elements again.
Who is that? Do you know?
I believe this is Moses.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then in
Again.
his right hand, he's got a, looks like a tulip, doesn't it?
Over here. Yeah.
Interesting.
All the symbolism in here. By the way, I think there's good evidence that those cats been around.
That's got, is that from David Icke?
Yeah. And the reason why I make this one, if you go and look at the ancient, the model, the figurines of Ishtar, I think that's who she is.
Wow.
This one here is just really interesting, is it not?
Where's that brother's shorts?
I don't know, but I find it so interesting. Look at this. Got the Cardicus over here. You got the serpent over here. It looks like the eagle here.
Looks like a phoenix.
Yeah, phoenix. Good, good. He's standing on wings here. Looks like it may be like a flying carpet, a flying device. The moon and the sun.
Why did the song A Whole New World come into my mind?
I don't know. And that's it. So there you go.
Oh, that's it. I was just starting to enjoy it.
So interesting, isn't it? And it's all part of our past, folks. It's, if we had that knowledge, just think, Jeff, you and I could, well, who knows?
Well, at least we're starting to get bits and pieces of that knowledge. And, you know, I remember talking to Scotty Roberts a couple of years ago and saying, wouldn't it be great if we could put together a parabiblical wisdom conference?
Oh.
But Wayne, me, you, and Scott would be the only three that would show up.
Probably the only one show up and have gut, and they'll have the burning of effigies of us outside. You know what I'm on the quest to do, Jeff? I'm on the quest to find an initiate. As I get,
well, listen to this, Wayne. Scotty is postulating that Moses holding the brazen serpent is Nakash, the so-called serpent in the garden, one of the Elohim.
Ooh, that's
interesting.
Well,
before I so rudely interrupted you.
Well, no, that would kind of go with the fact that I conjecture that Moses or Moshe called the Elohim down.
Yeah.
And so would he not have to have control? I like that kind of thinking. I think that's where we have to look outside the box on a lot of this.
Definitely. Wow. Fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff. It really is. And, you know, we're just barely even scratching the surface of the surface. We're not at the top. We're not even at the tip of the iceberg. We're at the third snowflake down on 10 feet of snow on top of the ice, which is on top of the iceberg.
Yeah, you know.
And yet it feels like we're learning all kinds of stuff.
Well, we are. We are. I mean, the fact that we're becoming aware of alchemy and understanding that now alchemy is not magic.
What is monoatomic gold?
Pardon?
Monoatomic gold.
Oh, that is supposed to be the gold that the Anunnaki were really looking for. It's the it's the highly, what did I hear? It's the gold of the gods.
Interesting.
Yes. If we can figure that out, who knows? And
so we don't know what, you can't buy that on Amazon.
No. But if Jeff Bezos can think he can, it'll be there.
It'll be there, yeah.
I never thought about that. I ought to send him an email saying, hey, Jeff, we're looking for the true lost arts of alchemy. Got any hints?
Send who an email?
Jeff Bezos.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. You know.
Scotty says, was Moloch Zeus? You know what? Because maybe I think Moloch, Yahweh, Zeus, Marduk might all be the same dude.
It could be. I mean, I think it's a good, let me put it this way. I think that the foundation is there is that someone is masquerading.
Oh, Yahweh is definitely masquerading.
Yeah.
And I'm convinced, and I know that Rex gets really nervous when I say this, but I'm convinced that if Yahweh ever did have any power, he doesn't have any power anymore He's faking us all. It's all a smoke and mirror show. He's the Wizard of Oz behind the curtain. And his rulership of earth is over. All that's left is for us to enforce it.
Well, if you want to do a really objective assessment of the Old Testament of Yahweh, he never was a God that had any power.
He never did his own wet work, Wayne. Never once.
Never did. He never attacked another god. He never attacked another nation. In fact, if you look at it, outside of the Mount Sinai event, that's it.
Which Mount Sinai event?
Well, with him coming down in his ship. I mean,
oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's really about the only extent that I've ever seen anything. I mean,
even all the plagues on Egypt, those could have been done by Moses.
It was
Passover wasn't even God killing people. It was he sent out the Israelites to kill people. That's why they marked the doors. Don't kill these people. He was God. Didn't he know? Isn't he God?
Supposed to.
Don't you know? Aren't you God?
And here's what
recognize
I'll say
that.
it again. When Moses went into the court of Pharaoh to do his tricks, those were his apprentices.
Yeah.
Of course they could mimic what Moses, and of course Moses would know how to be superior to their magic.
Yeah.
It's
by the way, when they threw down their staff, it didn't become serpents, it became crocodiles.
Yeah.
That's what the original Hebrew says. So now it gives you a whole new visual, doesn't it?
It does.
Aaron throws down his staff, it becomes the pharaohs become crocodile. There was crocodiles running around there, folks. That was an intense situation.
And when you come to think about it, it would never be the serpent anyway, because the serpent is not what we have been brainwashed to think. The serpent has always been represented of knowledge,
right?
Wisdom. It's everywhere. So, what are we missing?
Scotty says that Yahweh was inky. Yeah, I've never really made those. I understand where he's coming from. I never have taken it that literal, because I always wondered, because I think Yahweh somehow appropriated the Imhulu, and he was trying to convince people that he was Enki or Marduk.
So
really was.
Well,
I think it's a great study.
These deities, these gods, they're egomaniacs, man.
Oh yeah, especially Yahweh.
They're psychopaths, and talk about an ego.
Yeah.
So I think that if Yahweh could mimic him, I mean, that's what the Catholic Church is saying about Satan, that Satan has the power of mimicry. That's
right. Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light.
Yep. And that he actually created an opposite of scene of exactly the birth of Jesus so that he could then corrupt it.
And of course, when you know that Satan created a false fossil record in the earth so that we wouldn't believe, and that we believe that evolution was right. None of those fossils are real. That was all created by Satan and placed in the earth, just like all those other religions that have Jesuses in them 3,000 years before there was a Jesus. Those were also created by Satan.
I mean, this cat, he's probably sitting going, wow, hey, God, look what they're doing for me down here.
And if Satan did do all that,
well, then who's God?
Well, think of it, Wayne. If Satan did all that, and we are told that most of the people that God created are going to wind up in hell, then Satan's really the winner and God's the loser. God is a loser God, and Satan is the most powerful God. We should all be saying, hail Satan. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan. Someone's going, oh, you can't do that.
Hail Satan.
He's going to get you. You know, again, the creature that I see in the Old Testament is not this creature that was taught to me in Sunday school.
Yeah.
Because it scared the hell out of me.
Iowa X wants to know if dinosaurs tasted like chicken.
It's rabbit.
Yeah, rabbit. That's right. But they became birds, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You can.
They must have tasted like chicken.
So that brings up the whole thing when you said crocodiles. You know, crocodiles is apparently the same species that was existing during the dinosaurs. What happened?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I always tried to figure out the proverbial cockroach. They've been around since the
Are you
beginning.
talking about L.A. Marzulli?
Exactly, the cucaracha.
The L.A. cucaracha. I'm sorry.
That was mean-spirited. But anyway, yeah. So, the way I look at this, I'm doing a thing right now in looking at alchemy it was taught to the very early ancestors. That's how they got by. That's how they had the knowledge to plug into it. Because I could never figure out that you could see, for instance, the insect kingdom. The insect kingdom passes on their collective knowledge to each new generation. Well, why can't we do that? Why is it that we have to start from zero and then try to get ourselves up to? I think at some point in time, we should be able to say, if knowledge is in fact residual, and that knowledge in fact can be stored, which we've seen that. By the way, Jeff, do you know that they're going to be having petabyte storage devices come out?
Wow.
Petabytes. Now, if you don't think
That's
that we're
a lot of bytes.
Oh, and I think about the inundation of knowledge that's hitting us.
Well, we went to the moon with the Commodore 64. Imagine what we could do now.
Hell. Did we go to the moon?
Here we go with that one, huh?
Yeah,
And it's just one small step for mankind to the flat Earth argument from there.
Yes, and I know everyone's gift stuff, and they use it from the Bible, right? That the Earth is flat because the Bible says it so.
That's a very key to understanding the origin of the flat Earth theory.
Gee, guys, you might want to look at your book.
You might want to look at your source.
That's all I got to say. And now they're going to brand us.
Interesting.
It's been fun.
It does taste like chicken. I've had the occasion to eat rattlesnake, and it does taste like chicken.
I was down in Jacksonville at the down on the pier, Jacksonville Landing, and there was a restaurant down there that actually served rattlesnake.
And I've eaten crocodile or alligator, and it doesn't taste very good. It doesn't taste like chicken. It's not good.
I heard it's really stringy. Is that right?
It was just really, really greedy. It reminded me of bear. It was just not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Somebody says I'm going vegan right after I go to McDonald's one more time.
Yeah, let me get that one piece of Angus steak, please.
Yeah.
And I know it's, people say, well, Wayne, are you a vegetarian? And I go, I haven't ascended that far yet.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
That's interesting. That's interesting. So, Wayne, tell people where to find you.
R. Wayne Steiger, Steiger. Come on over. Love to have you. And Jeff, I enjoy this because I get emails from people who see us. What are you laughing at?
Nappy Yogi says, Jeffrey Dahmer said people taste like chicken. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do know that Jeffrey Dahmer had his mom over for dinner, and they were sitting there having dinner, and the people next door were being really, really loud. And she said, Jeffrey, I really don't like your neighbors. And Jeffrey said, that's okay, Mom, just eat the vegetables.
Now, on a related topic, have you...
Oh, no.
There is more and more cases of cannibalism coming up. I read a story about a woman in Germany who barbecued her daughter.
I just saw Rex had something about cannibalism, about they went on Craigslist or something, and
yeah, wanted a couple.
The guy that paid somebody or volunteered to have somebody eat his penis, right?
I mean,
and then the guy overcooked it. I mean, if you're going to eat a penis, what could be more important than that penis that's cooking in the oven?
I don't know. I mean, you see, that's why
I could possibly make you, I forgot I had a penis in the oven.
Yeah.
I don't understand how that could possibly happen.
I don't know. It gives a whole new definition to tube steak, doesn't it?
It does. Now, what is that thing that they say that Hillary has because she's been eating human flesh? What's that called?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. What is that? Well, she's got something there. Oh, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we're seeing these stories popping up everywhere, and I'm going, I think we've changed realities.
You really do think we've changed realities?
I think, okay, let me just leave it with this. If you, the body, operates at a certain frequency and a certain timing. Our bodies are tuned to a time that gives us the ability to exist in this temporal plane. Can you move that dial up even a little bit or tune it down?
Yeah.
If you tune it up, you're no longer...
Guru fever.
Pardon?
Guru fever.
Yeah. Yep, that's it. Yep.
That's what they say Hillary Clinton has. But if you can get Guru fever, then what about all these people that we say are drinking blood and eating sacrificed flesh? I mean, do you always get Guru fever from eating people, or do you just sometimes get it? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not versed in that.
Wow.
I have to say. But to finish the thought out is that I think if you vibrate at a higher frequency, I think you can vibrate into a higher dimension.
Oh, absolutely. There's no doubt about it.
So I'm just not that advanced yet, but I do believe so that's my whole theory about changing realities. How would we know? How would we know if there was a galactic shockwave that came through that advanced our clocks even by a tenth?
Yeah. And if we did ascend into another frequency, would we know it?
I don't think we would. I think there would be residual impressions, but now we're getting out there into the fringe. Oh, I'm already there.
Somebody asked you a question, Wayne. I don't really get it, but let me ask. Does Wayne think there's a weight limit to Earth, and if it affects frequency?
Is there a weight limit?
Yeah.
Well, I don't buy that gravity is the superior law. I buy that the fact that it's electromagnetic, like electricity is the superior. So I don't think mass has anything to do, because frequency is actually nothing more than a vibration that is in fact electricity. It's electromagnetic frequency. So to answer your question, no, I don't think that mass has anything to do with it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
The universe, we see it already. In fact, when you look at the universe, it is exactly what happens in the labs. It's the same thing when you put electricity down. You can see it.
So Tesla knew what was going on.
He did. He absolutely did. I think that he figured it out. He absolutely figured out. I think the Russians knew it as well. And they're suppressing that. Tesla knew that you can generate free electricity. There's no reason for us to be using any carbon fuels. There's no reason for it. It can be actually, in fact, I've been at investor conferences where I have seen companies now postulating building what they call Wi-Fi electric. In other words, they're perfecting the technology within a 15-meter range that you can have electricity go to any device.
Well, Wayne, there are reasons why we can't have it. Billions and billions and billions of them.
Exactly. Trillions, probably.
Little green reasons.
Yep. Yep. And I think that that's, listen, every time someone's gotten close to that, you know?
So was Tesla killed?
I think he was forced to basically, listen, you can so diminish a man in his core image that death will be it will be the next thing to onset.
Because when you look at him in his last days,
he was a broken man.
He was not in good shape.
No, he was an idealist. He knew he had the answer, and you know, we know the story, what happened to him, and I think that he is going to be. Yeah, it's just he had the answer. And listen, yeah. I think that we're going to figure it out as well. And I think that, you know, so this shift I keep talking about, I think that this is part of that shift.
I agree.
And I'll end it with this. Let's take a little theology here. I think that what Daniel saw in the future is what we're living now. I think he saw Google. I think he saw this God that we have built. And Google is a God. It is the repository of man's consciousness.
It really is.
It is.
I mean, Google's this close from being an AI.
If not already.
If not already, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you think about it, Jeff. If I tell people, if you've got Alexis and those other devices in your home, are you crazy?
Alexa, not Alexis. You might have Alexa in your driveway.
Yeah, Alexa, the Apple one, and I think Google's got one now. Amazon.
What the Google one's called. But yeah.
And Amazon's got one. And folks, you don't understand. You're plugged in now. You are in the matrix.
You are. And I mean, if you think, and you think about it, that Alexa or whatever is sitting there listening to everything you say, waiting for you to give it a command. So when you're, I mean, think about it, even when you're in passion with your significant other, it's listening. Even when you're in a fight with your significant other, it's listening. When you're watching porn, it's listening.
Listen, this thing here, it listens all the time. I mean, it comes on. I ask it, are you reporting to the NSA? You know what it tells me? I'm unsure.
I'm unsure.
I went,
I don't know where mine is.
Yeah.
Maybe I never know where my phone is.
You know, you get Siri. Let's see. Watch. Let me see if I can get her. I'm on Siri. Siri. Yeah, I know it's you. Siri, are you reporting to the NSA? Let me do this again. Siri, are you reporting to the NSA? Who, me?
Oh my. Oh my. So
yes,
there you go.
There you go. There you go, folks.
Wow, this was supposed to be an hour, and it's been an hour and 36 minutes.
Well,
I appreciate it. It's good stuff.
I hope everyone had fun. I mean, listen, we're in strange times, Steve. I'm trying to get Siri to shut up now, and it's got who, me?
Yeah. It's hard to turn Siri off.
She's on, you know. It's yeah. Well, I know we went a little bit over, but this is good. I like this midweek.
This is good stuff, and we'll still have the Sunday show.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
At 9 a.m., and this one's at 9 p.m. on Wednesdays.
Hey, good timing. Good timing.
Good stuff. All right, folks, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty for R. Wayne Steiger. This has been our midweek report. Join us again on Sunday for the Not Your Normal Sunday morning show, and in the interim, come back to this channel. We have shows live 11, 5, and 11. And go to the R. Wayne Steiger channel as well for more good stuff. And until then, I salute you that are seeking truth. Be excellent to each other. And stay fearless, my friends. Wayne, let me ask you a question here offline as we say goodbye to all these nice people. Adios, folks. Nice to see you. We'll see you again soon.
Be kind to one another.